Hey everybody, Tara Green here. I'm a bit late, but I'm going to talk about this Capricorn Full Buck Moon, July the 10th. It was at 4:35 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This chart is set for Washington, D.C. So you can see there's the moon at 18 plus Capricorn, the sun exactly opposite 18 Cancer. And this full moon, like all full moons, are a completion, a culmination of where we've been. And Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and there's Saturn right there at 1 degree of Aries, and it's about to turn retrograde. So Saturn is virtually stationary in the sky. It means it's unmoving for just after the full moon until it turns retrograde on the 13th. So Saturn, or any planet at that stationary degree, is very, very powerful. So this is a major turning point, okay? When Saturn really on the world point, the beginning of the zodiac, it's 1 degree away and only 1 degree away from Neptune. They are very, very close together in the sky now. They haven't been this close ever. Saturn will start to move retrograde, and it will continue to move retrograde, returning to Pisces on September the 1st. So we have time to go back, to review our dreams, to finish up any unfinished creative, spiritual endings. It's like really karmic endings, really finish that cycle. Saturn is going to be finished being in Pisces for the last time in 29 years. And then Saturn moves into Pisces again in January 2026 and has a historic meeting with Neptune on February 20th, 2026. So it's a very important turning point in the cycle. You can see there's a big grand water trine going on. The North Node, which is our highest spiritual goal, is at 20 Pisces. Trining, which means it's in an easy positive aspect to the Sun at 18 Cancer. And also trining Juno, one of my favorite asteroids there, at 16 Scorpio. So grand water trine brings out those qualities. Juno is the ability to think multidimensionally. So especially right now, you got to remember that this is an unprecedented year in history, 2025. The planets, all these planets changing sign in the same year hasn't happened in over 4,000 years. So, in a sense, if you feel overwhelmed, especially with Jupiter in Cancer, lots of water, lots of emotions, lots of conflicting things going on, the polarities, the increased sense of polarities, it's best to realize this is a major transition. The whole world is in what they call the liminal space, and it's okay to not know. We just basically ventured into a whole new cycle with Saturn and Neptune and Aries. But we need to really retreat back to Pisces, right? Neptune will also return to Pisces later in the year, and kind of recoup and cleanse and nurture. Yeah, it's like going through a spa or going back to the womb. You know what I mean? The spiritual womb. That's what Pisces is all about. I can hear my cat throwing up at this moment as I'm saying this. A sort of fitting metaphor. Getting all this stuff out before you bravely put your armor on and march into Aries, Saturn and Neptune. So besides that grand water trine, Jupiter, a bit far away from the Sun to be counted in a conjunction, actually. Mercury's up there in Leo at 13 degrees, so our hearts are open. We're thinking with our hearts. We have pride, we have courage. Mars is in Virgo, very close to that South Node where we're letting go, also at 20 degrees. Again, the node is sextiling the Sun at that point. So very strong letting go of old habits, old worries, that's Mars in Virgo, old perfectionistic things, old OCD things. Why are we being so nitpicky? Why are we being so self-critical? Why is everything tearing everything apart, looking for the details, the nanoparticles there, right? Now, Ceres, the Great Mother, she's at 13 degrees of Aries, squaring, so she's the focal point of the Sun and the Moon, which are always opposite. So Ceres is the Great Mother in Aries. It's a new look, a new sense of who she is. Ceres provided all the growth of food on the world, all the nurturing for the humans. And so, she has a new purpose, in a way you would say, or a new energy. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, so she's in a new cycle. Aries always represents the new. So she's kind of bold, she's stronger, she's going to stand up and demand what she wants. Now, if we're looking at degrees, as degree theory, she's at 13 degrees of Aries, Mercury's at 13 degrees of Leo. So those two are trining each other as well. So again, Mercury and Leo, thinking with the energy of the Great Mother, like what would the Great Mother do to defend her children, her family, which is exactly what the Greek myth is all about. Ceres, Demeter, she stopped all the food growing. In fact, when she couldn't find her daughter, Persephone, who was raped or taken into the underworld by Pluto there at 2 degrees of Aquarius. So Pluto and Saturn and Neptune are in 60-degree aspects from each other called a sextile. They're very supportive with each other. That's very nice. Of course, we're also in that new energy of Uranus, just entered Gemini not too long ago. And Uranus and Venus are very close together. So they're in a conjunction, right, in air. So Uranus and Pluto are going to continue to be in that harmonious, supportive aspect. So if you have any planets in early Libra, you're definitely feeling that sense of freedom, of needing to listen to your soul purpose, of breaking out of the same old. Okay. So if you have any personal planets at, I would say, 0 to 3 degrees of any signs, Uranus, Pluto, Saturn, Neptune are going to be strongly affecting you, and they're all Pluto to Saturn, Neptune to Uranus, they're all 60 degrees apart, right? So they're all in this very nice, balanced, supportive aspect, right? So Pluto and Uranus are trining each other, and that's why Bitcoin just went to its highest high ever and will continue to do so. The astrology never lies. So the innovation, expecting computers to be smarter than any human, things moving even faster than they have been, is what's going on. And Lilith is at 4 degrees of Scorpio. She rules Scorpio. She's conjunct Juno, Vesta, the root word of investment. So, you have to listen to your intuition. The thing about Lilith is she's very misunderstood. She's the original feminine. She refuses to compromise. She's actually squaring Pluto at the moment and in conjunct Saturn and Neptune. So there's some deep collective where the feminine has been shamed or blocked, which we can see still going on in the world, and she is going to burst out and get very, very angry. Again with Neptune and Aries, I believe that's a lot of anger there. Now Chiron at 26 degrees of Aries is also squaring the sun and the moon. So again, any deep wounds right now, we want to go in there and cauterize them. It's fire, right? So this is a kind of cleansing, purging fire to the old wounds, so we can help heal them, right? Like walking on fire, that used to be a thing in the 80s. I kept saying that's going to come back as a spiritual discipline. That's what Saturn and Neptune is, spiritual discipline, very literally. So we want to think about what our new spiritual disciplines are going to be on this full moon, because Capricorn is all about, long-term plans. It's about career. It's about our legacy. So no matter how old you are, a lot of Gen Zs are heading into their first Saturn return starting this year, over the next couple of years. When you're 27, 28 years old, 29 years old, it's hard to think about what your legacy is going to be when you have your second Saturn return when you're 57, 58. So you want to think about that, right? Like, what is my legacy? What do I want to leave behind? If you're an little older generations, even millennials in the early 40s, if you're born in 83, you're actually going to have your Uranus opposition, which is your midlife crisis, coming up soon. It is going to be a doozy. I can tell you that. Unlike other generations, it's going to be more break-free than you ever had. So depending on how much you've rebelled when you were a teenager, the midlife crisis created by Uranus in Gemini is going to be like really wild. Okay, really, I got to break free. I don't fit in the box anywhere, right? Okay. So Venus and Mars are heading up to square each other. Actually, that energy is in effect. That tension, that friction can be kind of sexy. Venus and Gemini likes to flirt, likes to meet new people, very conversational, very charming, younger people even. And then Mars and Virgo is very perfectionistic. So it's kind of a nice balance. And again, Gemini and Virgo are ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is kind of also at that 13th degree with Virgo. So again, pay attention to all these repeating planets at those degrees. And if you're into degree theory, you can look that up too. Okay. So if you want to get in touch with me, I'm at tarottarot.com. I'm going to talk about Saturn moving retrograde and other big things happening in the next while. I teach workshops on astrology as well. I work with clients on an ongoing basis. So if you want to get in touch with me, I'm at tarottarot.com. Sending you many blessings on the full buck moon. The buck stops here. All right. Sending you blessings of the day.